All right, I think I might have a method or a solution to get this clear plastic to release. I cut a piece of sheet metal from our rear window channel job, and I pounded the end a little bit and made it pretty sharp there. The reason it's blue is because I was testing colored paint earlier. It's sort of curved as well, right? Because you don't want to mess around up here. If you scratch this, you're going to be able to see it until the end of time, right? So you don't want that. So I've been trying to just ease this up through here and get that piece of plastic to release. And this is going to be really fiddly, and I have to go really slow. So we'll show you the progress here in just a little bit. All right, we got that lens out of there finally. We used our little piece of sheet steel that we cut into sort of a curved, and I hammered the tip to a fine kind of a blade. I put the tip of it on the bench vise there and hammered it down a little bit and made it kind of sharp. And I was able to get in there and ease it up through there and just gently pry and pry and pry. And finally it let loose. What you're dealing with here is a pronounced ridge all the way around it, and that ridge was embedded around this lip here. So it was in there really well. I guess is what I'm trying to say. It was in there really well. Up next, we're going to set this aside in a safe place, probably wrap that up in some cloth. And for this piece, we're just going to go ahead and start the process of cleaning this thing up. I've got some residue of adhesive down in here, and there's some of the plastic lens is still embedded down in there that broke off. Also, we'll need to take a look at this lens here. I don't know what I'm going to do about that yet. Do I want to remove it to paint this? Taping this off would be really kind of a hassle, so I may end up removing that as well. So, all right, quick update on these light pipes, or whatever you want to call them, fiber optic doohickeys. I took this one apart and basically just put the super clean on it and cleaned it really well. And it was, well, it was kind of dingy. And I think that alone will probably increase the amount of light that we get to our instruments. I tried to polish this little area right here to get that little amber color out of there from the heat, but that didn't really have any effect. I used the Wenol. That's my go-to. I think just cleaning it in general will do a world of good. So we'll set that aside. And here's the other one, and it's it's pretty dingy. I think you can tell that you see that brownish tinge there. That'll go away once I take this apart and clean it up. So, all right, that's really all I'm going to do to these is just clean them up real good, and maybe we'll get a little more light on our instruments. All right, we're going to continue on with our little odd jobs here. I think soda blasting will be a bit much for this, so I think I'm just going to get a little bit of 220 sandpaper and do this one by hand, and that will be not very exciting at all to watch. And hopefully that won't take about 2 or 3 minutes. So, all right, let me get busy and get rid of the old dot disease from this shroud. And this shroud is what directs the light to your instruments. All right, we got the little lens out. That didn't take a whole lot of effort, really. It was simply glued on the ends here with a little bit of adhesive, and a little pick tool and some guts is all it took to make it let loose. So now our front escutcheon cover, whatever you want to call it, is completely naked, and we can do with it whatever we want. Up next, I will clean up the inside here and remove any remaining adhesives, and then we'll prep this thing for a soda blast. All right, we're back at the mobile paint booth, and we have our little piece here. I gave it a good sanding with some 220, carefully I might add. It's very delicate. Now the back side of this thing is supposed to be white, right? So to retain high reflectivity for the lighting, okay? Because this is a shroud that covers up the end of the light pipe or light fiber optic lens that lights up your instruments. I've got 2 coats of matte black on here, maybe 1, maybe 2 more coats, and then we'll be done with this piece. So I decided to go with matte black. I didn't like the way the satin looked on the other piece, so we're going to redo that one as well in matte black. All right, we've finished our soda blast on the outer framework. Still have a little bit more cleanup work to do on the back side, including removal of some adhesives. And after that, we'll be back to the mobile paint booth to put our top coat on. All right, we're going to show you our progress. It's kind of like a cooking show around here. So this is the temp, fuel, and oil pressure gauge after I have painted the needles with this apricot, I don't know why they just don't call it orange, apple barrel hobby paint. Up next, we're going to do the tack and the clock. All right, so the technique that I have decided to use is simply mask off the dial that you want to paint with a piece of paper. You cut a slit in it and slip it past the pivot shaft on the needle, and we start painting. And it takes very little paint. Just a drop there on our paper. I've got a very small hobby brush. And you're not going to do this in one coat. Just like painting anything, you want to do a light coat first. And you want to be careful when you get up there next to that, to the pivot point where the black part is. You don't need to get all the way up to it. Nobody can see that part. The only person that can see it is if you're sitting here doing this. All you need to do is come in here with a very light, very smooth first coat, and you're done. It's not going to cover on the first try. It just won't, okay? It's going to take like 4 coats, all right? I've already done this on one gauge, so trust me, I know. That is if you want to do a good job. I got a little water in my little cap here, and I'm going to set my brush here, and I'm going to wait half an hour, 45 minutes. This is exciting, isn't it? I won't put you through that. We'll be back in just a little bit. All right, this is what the outer shell looks like. I basically screwed it up the first time, stripped it again, sanded it down again, and primed it again, and top coated it again. Sometimes it takes 2 times to get things right. I have a Dupli-Color coat of primer on here, followed up with a coat of Krylon matte black. It's not flat, it's matte. Because satin is too, well, satiny anyway. Krylon needs to get their sheens right. They're not right. The matte black for this piece turned out really well. And I will use flat black on the main housing. We'll show you that next. All right, so this doesn't look as good as I thought it was going to look, but you know, it's got some texturization, you might call it. It's not from the soda blasting, it's just from the deterioration of the surface over the years. So this is flat black, believe it or not, although it doesn't look flat to me, it looks like satin. Like I said, Krylon needs to get their sheens correct. So if you let the light sort of reflect off of it, you can see, you know, some minor deviations in the texture, but it's not going to matter. What you're going to see in the car is that, right? Especially at night, no one's going to care. Like I said earlier, it looks way, way better than looking at all those stupid dots. All right, so it's been a little longer than, you know, half an hour or so, but that's okay. I had plenty of other things to keep me busy. This will be coat number 2 on our tack. And again, you don't have to get right up against the black part, otherwise
you'll get orange paint on that center black part, and you will have to stare at it for the rest of your days. And it will be a constant reminder that you didn't pay attention to what I told you. All right, coat number 2. I think 2 more will be appropriate for that. In the meantime, we will clean our brush and go inside. It's really humid today, so this paint takes quite some time to dry. The name of this game is Patience. All right, we're continuing on in our restoration efforts. I'm going to focus now on the lens. I did an initial cleaning with the Sprayway product, and it's a good product, but it doesn't get water spots off. And let's see, right there. See these water spots here? The cleaner's not getting that. So I'm assuming that's left over from, you know, previous years of using various cleaners inside a car, and it stays wet, and then, you know, you got a water spot. So I've done one small spot with the 3M rubbing compound, and I'll show you what that looks like as far as getting water spots off this lens. I got a little bit of the 3M on my rag here, and I'm going to pick a couple of these. Where's one that you can easily see? Those 2 big guys right there. Let's try to work on those. So I got to thinking about this. You guys have probably used those Headlight Restoration kits, you know, and they're made, a lot of them are made by 3M, and it comes with various grits of sandpaper, but we don't want to do all that. And in the kit, it'll come with a little bit of 3M rubbing compound, and you use that to do the final polishing. So let's take a look at that and see what we did here. Now, I didn't do all of the spots, but I just wanted to show you that it works. The 2 spots in question were right there. They're gone. They're not completely gone, microscopically. In my extremely bright light overhead, you see those? I've got 2 8-foot LED lights. That's what that reflection is. So they were right here, and they are now gone for all intents and purposes. The only way I can see a vague remnants of them if I'd move the piece just so. So that's what I'm going to do on this piece to remove all the water spots and minute scratches and whatnot, and hopefully we'll have a nice, newish looking lens for our instrument cluster. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go with an automated solution here. I went ahead and got a 3M Headlight Restoration kit. I've used these before on headlights, and seeing as how the 3M rubbing compound did such a good job when I was sitting there rubbing it with my hand and a rag, I decided to go ahead and just simply use this Headlight Restoration kit, but I would only use a small part of it, and I would use the rest to polish the headlights on our old MK5 Golf. I'm only going to use the last stage of this kit. All these other discs will go back into the container, and I will simply use rubbing compound and the foam polishing disc. They give you some rubbing compound in the kit to do the headlight restoration, but I'll just save that since I already have some here in a bottle, and it's the same thing as the stuff in the pack. All right, the instructions say a dime size, or just spray it on the thing there. That'll be good too. A dime, that looks like a dime in my mind. I'm going to spread it around on the foam pad with my finger here. Why? Because, well, I don't know. I'm just going to do it that way. So what I'm going to do here, this is the outside, closer to the driver. I'm just going to go ahead and go hog wild here and hopefully don't screw it up. All right, I just did that one section. Let me get a clean cloth and buff it, see how well we did. Yeah, I think that worked out fairly well. There was watermarks all along here. I'm not too sure where they came from. I'm kind of liking that. I think I'll add a little more of this rubbing compound to the, come on, you can do it. There we go. All right. Let's see how well we did. There's a couple of deep horizontal scratches going across this thing. I don't know which side they're on, though. I don't know if they're on this side or the other side. I think this is going to work out really well, though. I think I had a little bit too much compound on there. I got a little splatter. A rookie mistake, I guess. Yeah, I think we got rid of our watermarks that we needed to get off of there, so that's pretty cool. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do the backside as well, and we'll show you the results when I'm done. All right, there's the results. The only thing left on this piece of plastic is the lint from my non-lint-free cloth. It was the cheapest thing I could find at Wally World. So, but they're nice and soft. The only problem is they leave a lot of lint. So what I'll do is get some nice microfiber lint-free cloths, and I'll wash this thing with soap and water, and then I'll dry it with that. You know, on the outside it's not going to matter a whole lot, but on the inside, you know, you don't want any dust when you reassemble the thing. We had some really long scratches all the way across here, and we had water spots all over it, and they're all gone now. So I'm kind of liking that. I'm going to put this back over on the shelf and carry on with the rest of the refurbishment. All right, I thought I was done for the day, but I had an idea, and I just couldn't resist it. I got the die grinder out with some pretty aggressive paper on it, and I rebeveled this. It was really curved. I'll show you what it looked like. It was actually worse than this one. It was really, really curved due to the heat. And I took that curve out and rebeveled it. Still need to clean it up though. I got to take these humps out right here. These bubbles, these are air bubbles now from the heat. So I need to take those out. But I decided to repurpose the Headlight Restoration kit. I'm going to go ahead and use those sanding discs because they go from coarse to fine. And I think maybe I can bring this back. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm going to try. If I screw this one up, oh well, I'll leave the other one alone. But I'm going to give it a shot anyway, and we'll just see how well it works. All right, continuing on in our great experiment here. That's with the 800. And I think the next one is like a 3000 or something like that. And then after that, you put the 3M rubbing compound on it. So, all right, up next, I think we're going to do the 3000. All right, that's with the 3000 disc, and we'll see if we can take the haze out of it with the 3M rubbing compound. And that will leave us with these bubbles to contend with. Maybe some air pressure might take that out of there. I'm not sure. And then maybe fill it in with some real thin super glue. I don't know. I'm just making this stuff up, folks. You know, just making it up as I go along. I just figured I'd give this a try and show you the process along the way. If it doesn't work, then hey, okay. If it works, great. I'm tickled pink, to be honest. I just didn't think this would turn out. I mean, it's not fantastic, but you know, it looks way better than it did. So we got the haze back out of it, and I think we got most of the amber color from the burn. I think there might be a little left in there. Yeah, whatever. I've got a hole right there to contend with. Still got a little rigid material on the end. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to try to fill those with that real thin super glue that I've got and just see what that will do. If anything, it'll just, firm it up and keep it from breaking. That's probably the best thing. I don't know that it would transmit any more light, but anyway, let's just see how far we can take this, just for grins. All right, so this is what I'm doing. This is Starbond DA glue. It's extremely thin. It's like water, basically. You take the small, thin pipette and you go down to the bottom of the hole and you fill it in and you bring it up to the top. And I'm just going to let it sit there and dry like that. All right, I'm going to call that a rudimentary success, to be honest with you. We got most of the bubbles out, and the bubbles that were there we filled in with the Starbond DA glue. I do have one hole that goes all the way through it, that big one right there. Quite honestly, I don't know how I could fix that. I think I'm just going to leave it alone. It'll be like a war wound. But I think that'll work out a lot better. It'll transmit a lot more light than the way it was. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other one off camera, and then we'll show you the results a little bit later on. And this is the little tiny pipette that goes on the bottle. You can see it's extremely small. So that's how precise you can get with this stuff. And when you put it on a crack, it just leaches in there. Just gets all down in there. Well, all right, folks, I think we're going to call this part 2 in our instrument cluster restoration. Initially, I was going to try to make this a 2-parter, but seeing as how I started getting off into the weeds with a lot of these little minor details, I sort of wanted to show you some of the processes that I've been using, and some of the stuff I just made up as I go along. I freely admit that. These are just techniques that I use, things that are going on inside of my head. And if you choose to use them, hey, that's fantastic. Or if you think they're really stupid, let me know in the comments below. Some of the stuff I look at on YouTube as well, and I learn from other people. I learn from other YouTubers. I've learned a whole lot of stuff from the other Mercedes guys in the YouTube land. One thing that I'm not going to do in this project is replace the capacitors in the clock. And the reason why is I just don't care. I've got a clock in the radio. I got a clock in my cell phone. I don't need a clock. Plus, if you need some instructions on how to fix the clock in your Mercedes, I would highly recommend that you hop on over to Woods and Barclay. They are a great YouTube channel, and they are doing a fantastic job over there preserving classic Mercedes. So if you look up the clock repair video and you watch John Woods replace the capacitors in that clock in that car he's working on, and I think you'll be impressed. All right, folks, that's all for now. Appreciate you guys stopping by the channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to be notified whenever I release a new video, don't forget to click that little bell down below. It would really help my channel out a whole lot. You guys have a good one, and remember to enjoy restoring your classic Mercedes. What Krylon. Okay. How much of this conversation do you want to be on YouTube?
Everybody said, hi, everybody. Hello.
Go press stop recording.